Welcome into episode 60. Bernie, episode 60 of the Gashouse Gang. How about that?
That's a lot.
Episodes, man. We're just getting rolling, too. We got a whole baseball season in front of us. Every day analysis, all kinds of stuff, man. It is very cool to be here.
We're going to be hitting 100 before you know it. And just wait till the season starts, a regular season. Well, plus we'll have a lot to talk about during spring training. And so people need to not only subscribe to the Gashouse Gang, you go to YouTube and do that. If you go to the KMOX YouTube channel, you'll see it under there. But tell your friends about it too, because this is pretty unique. There's no one in the market doing anything like this. So you're guaranteed to have at least two and in one day 4 KMOX sports guys talking 5 days a week. Minimum of 2, maximum of 4 per episode.
Yep.
So it's great. It's really great stuff. I love doing it and love working with you, Kev.
At the same time, I would say make sure while you're subscribing to the KMOX Sports YouTube channel, do the same for the Bernie Show on YouTube as well. That way you're getting the best of both worlds.
There you go.
The more the merrier, right? Let's get more of them.
Right.
And also, obviously, we'll hear a little bit about Sela later. There you go. The truck's right there. And then right over here, our new friends at Game Day Men's Health have joined in. So we're building some momentum. Those are my guys, Bernie. I was over there yesterday. Oh, very cool team. We'll tell you more about them, here in the not too distant future. But I'm looking forward to telling more people about it because I was in yesterday. It's a machine, man. They're so good, so friendly, so smooth. Everything is good. So
where do I sign up?
Hey, let's go. I'll get you in. I know people, man. I know Matt. Matt runs the place. He'll get you taken care of. Let's just get it set up. We'll get you going. All right. So let's start with an anniversary, and not the anniversary of our 60th show here on the Gashouse Gang. We're going to get to some baseball topics here in a few minutes. We're going to talk about the Blues toward the end of the show. So, about a half an hour from now. But let's start with the anniversary, Bernie. Today is the 25th anniversary of the greatest show on turf, finishing the job and winning the Super Bowl. And what a bittersweet thing, right? I mean, one of the great teams in St. Louis history, one of the great sets of personalities, one of the great achievements, but then also the reminder that they're gone.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, that's the terrible final bottom line, but I like to just remember just how great it was for those 3 years. And even a little bit beyond that. And even just getting the Rams, the 1996 season was a lot of fun, even though they were 7-9, or the 1995 season, pardon me. But it was a losing record 4 straight years. And then 1999 happened, which was just incredible. But I don't know, Kev. I'm like philosophical on this, and I know I'm probably in the minority, and that's okay. But the memory of the greatest show, Rams, which was one of the great offenses in the history of pro football, even now, they stand up to anybody. I don't want to contaminate my own beautiful memories by thinking about bad people and bad stuff that happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like I say all the time. It's like, when you're talking about something so precious like the greatest show on turf in that 1999 Super Bowl championship, I don't want Roger Goodell in my head. I don't want Stan Kroenke in my head. Like why take away from your own beautiful memories by obsessing over those gangsters? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's a good point.
It's not my thing. It just isn't.
It's not. It's a great point. It's a great point. So let's focus on the football side. And this was years before I got to St. Louis, so I didn't have the connection that you did to the team and being there every day. My only story to start with that was preseason that year. I had a caller. I was doing an national overnight show on Sporting News Radio, and we were just talking football, probably training camp. It was right after Trent Green got hurt. And we had a caller from St. Louis. I was like, hey, you think they can make the playoffs? And I just laughed. I'm like, no. If you had your quarterback, sure, there's a lot of talent there, but no. And then, of course, what happened? But the greatest show on turf.
The thing about it is they really made some improvements in that offseason. And, getting Marshall Faulk was a coup, and they basically gave up very little for him. They signed Adam Timmerman as a free agent who won Super Bowl in Green Bay, team leader type guy. They drafted Torrey Holt. They brought in Trent Green, who gets forgotten in the greatest show story because Trent Green was a free agent. Mike Martz had coached him. as the offensive coordinator or the quarterback's coach in Washington. And he told the Rams, you got to sign Trent Green. He's just what we need to just change the culture of this thing. And they signed Trent Green, and Trent Green made a huge impact early on. He never played a regular season game. He got his knee blown out in the third exhibition game, cheap shot by Rodney Harrison. But before that awful event happened, Trent Green had shown all the Rams who were used to losing and just felt no direction. He instituted a winning mindset and a mindset of dedication and professionalism. And he really, really changed the culture during his time there, like all the way through training camp until he got hurt. So he always deserves special mention because he was a transformative figure. Ironically, he was, even though he never played it down. But I remember the night that Trent Green got hurt, and it was devastating to the Rams. And I was telling Chris and Amy this. I called John Shaw and Jay Zygmunt real late at night, the night it happened, Saturday night. And they could barely speak. They were so down and depressed and just demoralized because they thought they were going to be really, really good. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, poof, did it all just go up in smoke? And Dick Vermeil wanted to bring in Jeff Hostetler to talk him out of retirement and bring him in. That was his first thought. And by the way, I'm not ripping Dick for that. That's a natural thing.
No, it's a guy that's played in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but Dick Vermeil went to Mike Martz and he said, listen, you're working with this guy, Kurt Warner, and I see you out on the field and, you're tough on him. You're in his face all the time. Like, what do you think? Can he handle this? And Mike Martz said, Dick, we'll be fine with Kurt Warner. He told Vermeil, he said, I hit him with everything I could. I've never treated a player more roughly than I have Kurt Warner. I was berating him all the time. I was telling him he wasn't good enough all the time. Every mistake he made, I was in his face. Now, some people in retrospect would say, well, Mike Martz, he was crazy. Why was he? No, Mike Martz, there was a method to his madness. He wanted to make sure Kurt Warner was tough enough to handle anything that he threw at him. And Kurt Warner passed that test with flying colors. And Mike Martz told Dick Vermeil, he said, if this guy can take me screaming at him in every practice and never flinch, never get weak, only get stronger, he can handle anything that NFL defenses are going to try to do to him. He's a mentally tough SOB. So the rest is history, right? But they had a lot of talent going into that season too.
Look at all the Hall of Famers and should be Hall of Famers.
Yeah, they had five. Well, they have five. If you count the Vermeil. Yeah. They have five. They already have 5 Hall of Famers. They have Falk, Warner, Pace, Bruce, Vermeil, and Torrey Holt. I have it on pretty good authority. It looks really good for him this time around. Good. Yeah, so they could have a 6th Hall of Famer in there after the Hall of Fame vote for this year is announced. But it was as much fun as I've ever had covering sports, and that takes nothing away from the Blues winning the Stanley Cup. No, it takes nothing away from all those great Cardinals teams, but just to watch that team go and, average almost 33 points per game over 3 years. But also to see how tough they were too. They never got credit for that. But that Tampa Bay NFC Championship, everyone was saying, well, boy, Tampa Bay is going to go in there, hit him in the mouth, and we'll see how tough defense, they are. Yeah, this is our greatest show on turf thing's really pretty. Oh, there's such a beautiful little fancy, pretty offense. Let's see what happens when someone hits him in the mouth. Well, Tampa Bay hit him in the mouth over and over again. And you know what? Much to the surprise of the national media, the Rams punched back. And it went down to the wire. Then you had Warner to Prohl. And the Rams proved a point. It wasn't just a pretty little show, right? They were a tough-minded team. The defense was tough. They were tough. They win that game 11-6. And pretty remarkable when you look at that. And I thought, if they can survive that, because that was the closest they came during the regular season to really being, they lost some games. They lost 3 games.
Right.
But to really being kind of exposed as, quote, a soft team, a good team, but a soft team. I told it Jim Thomas and I talked about it. So, there's just no way they're going to lose this Super Bowl because they're mentally and physically tough and they don't get enough credit for that. And that's what happened in the Super Bowl. They got beat up in the second half. 16 straight points they allowed. But in the end, Warner hits Bruce. Javon Curse is breathing on him and so close to him that Warner had to get rid of it earlier. He underthrew it. Bruce makes this great play, 2 minutes left, 73 yards. And then the defense, it got a little scary, but the defense made the stop. Mike Jones, 1 yard from the end zone, tackling Kevin Dyson. Again, mentally tough. So I love that team. I love the memories. I love everything about the experience of watching them and covering them.
And just 2 points of perspective for some of our younger people that are watching or listening, depending on when you're consuming this, whether you're watching us live or podcasting later or listening to KMOX later on. That kind of offense wasn't common then.
No.
I mean, like now offense is much more prevalent. And if you were to compare it on an adjusted scale, you would see the difference. That would be like a team now scoring 38, 40 points a game. Right. I mean, like so people just have to understand that time was before a lot of the rules changes that benefited offense, a lot of the different things that have gone on. So that was even more innovative and impressive than you think when you just hear those straight up numbers. And then the second side of it was that Tampa defense was historically great. That was one of the best. I mean, they won a Super Bowl with that group, with Brad Johnson at quarterback. And I'm not trying to pick on Brad Johnson, just saying that's how good that team was.
Right.
So there's no fluke involved in any of this. And that was an innovative team.
Yeah, the NFL at that time, everyone was trying to, not everyone, but most offenses in the league were trying to run the West Coast offense or a variation of it. And it was highly successful. But after a while, it sort of became the norm. It was good, but there was nothing unique or special about it. And then Mad Mike Martz came in, and Dick Vermeil had the foresight to bring him in. He had to hire an offensive coordinator. His first thing he thought about doing was promoting Mike White from his staff, like his old buddy. And I remember, John Shaw and Jay Zygmunt, they were like Dick, Coach, you got to open this up. You got to talk to some other people. You got to interview a couple other people. And Vermeil, to his credit, said okay, and then said, "Well, you got any ideas?" And they knew Mike Martz pretty well. Say, at least talk to him. He's different, but the guy is brilliant offensively, and that's what we need because we have Falk now, we have Bruce. He's healthy. He's going to be healthy. We're probably going to draft a wide receiver. We've got, Orlando Pace is coming into his own, and we need someone to kind of make all this work. At least talk to him. And Vermeil talked to Martz, and they hit it off, and Vermeil loved them and still does, and vice versa. So some things had to happen. It wasn't just you snap everything into place. Some things had to happen, including in that building, the confidence in Kurt Warner that no one on the outside had in him to take over. Did I think he was going to do what he did? No. I didn't think he would become the sixth player in NFL history to win the regular season MVP and the Super Bowl MVP. I didn't think he was going to break Joe Montana's record for most yards passing in the Super Bowl. No, throwing for over 4,000 yards, 41 touchdowns. No, I can't say I thought that was coming. I did think he had a chance to be pretty good, though. I did. I really did. And there's proof in that because I wrote a column about it that like 2 days after
we got receipts.
After Trent Green got hurt. I wrote a column about it. I said, I didn't say he was going to be a great player. I said, hey, just don't count him out. There's something about this guy,
Very cool. Hard to believe that all of that was 25.
And how about Marshall Faulk? 2,249 yards from scrimmage, 12 touchdowns. But the stat that I love because it's rushing and receiving, the dude had 110 first downs during the season. That's a lot.
That's crazy.
That's a lot. So in many ways, they were kind of unstoppable because of what Falk could do as a runner or a receiver.
Yeah.
And the defense had to focus on him so much. All right, see, you got me going, Wheels.
That's what the point was.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Yep, that was the whole point. Hard to believe it was 25 years ago, but obviously
awesome.
We're going to fast forward to the present. It's the Gashouse gang here on all of the KMOX social media outlets, on YouTube, on Twitter, Facebook. Of course, if you're listening to us on the radio live on 11:20 a.m., Bernie Miklasz, Kevin Wheeler with you. Now let's switch to some baseball, Bern.
Sure.
And the offseason, again, is dragging into spring training, and I hate this. I hate this so much. We look around and we see Major League Baseball tooting its own horn. They're like, oh, look, we had $12 billion in revenue last year. Then why can't we do things normally? Do you think that there's kind of an obsession with getting the best deal, not just putting together the best roster, but like we don't want to pay one dime more than we should? I feel like guys like Bregman and Flaherty and some of these other players, there's just no way it should be this late into the offseason. And I know the player plays a part in that. They are not on the outside of this system, but it's getting worse. I think the last few years where this just drags.
Well, yeah, and even Pete Alonso. I mean, it's such a natural that he should go back to the Mets. It doesn't make any sense.
Why is that even a question?
So I think we're all tired of this. I'm not one of the people that thinks that the MLB necessarily needs I don't think they need a salary cap, because the biggest problem, and I know you agree, it's not the Dodgers, it's not the Yankees, it's not the Red Sox, it's not the Mets. The biggest problem are the freeloaders towards the bottom of Major League Baseball who get handouts from the wealthier teams. They get a big, nice share of all the local revenue, the TV revenue, local TV dollars. And so basically other owners are funding people like the Nimrod in Pittsburgh to just keep taking money and not reinvesting it into the team. The problem is there's too many teams at the lower end who don't even try in terms of spend money and to grow their roster. That's why I laugh, quite frankly, whenever I hear these over-the-top eviscerations of Bill DeWitt. Could Bill DeWitt spend more money when it's time to do that again? Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
And I've said that for years. He could spend more. But Bill DeWitt has shown that if he's around a top 10 payroll, that's fine. They'll win. But they got to have player development setting that up too.
Yeah, it's got to be in tandem.
But I just love this. I mean, because it's like you would think Bill DeWitt never spent $1 or something. Anyway, so take a look around at like some of these bums out there who just will do nothing to raise their franchise up. So that may not be exactly what you're talking about, but I wanted to get into that briefly.
No, it's actually all tied together. Yeah, it's all tied together.
And Major League Baseball still can't get out of its own way. I give Manfred credit for speeding up the game. That's worked. It's been a nice thing for baseball.
Expanded playoffs has been great.
Yeah, they can't get out of their own way. They're the only major sports league that basically throws away its own offseason, which is a vehicle to have all kinds of interest in your sport, to promote your sport, all this excitement. Players signing left and right, trades all over the place. NBA has a crazy offseason. Fans just can't wait for all the craziness to ensue. NHL come July 1st. Oh, watch out. Watch all these players change teams. Watch all this money go. NFL, same way. Frantic activity in terms of free agency, right? And Major League Baseball, what's the hot stove league, they basically took the hot stove league and they continue to throw cold water on it. And hardly a damn thing happens unless the Dodgers are doing it. And it's just such a depressing thing. And it does nothing to grow your business in the offseason. Nothing. And the other thing, Kevin, I'll say this briefly, and I know you have more to fill in on this. I don't mean to talk so much.
No, that's what it's for.
What I don't understand is the Major League Baseball Players Association. Who are they serving exactly? Are they serving all of the union members? The union members that have to wait to get a job while Scott Boras spends intentional exaggeration coming. Spends 2 years trying to get Alex Bregman signed. So all of the baseball middle class, so to speak, all waiting while Boras and the top tier clients, top tier free agents not only get their deals, but they take forever to sign the damn deals, right? What is it? Where's the Major League Baseball Players Association? So what? The only guys who count are the guys at the top of the scale in free agency. The middle class ain't benefiting, that's for sure. And we know the low end's got to look for crumbs in spring training. Oh, well, I got nothing else. I better sign with that team. Go ahead, man.
No, I'm with you. I think it's a sign of a bigger problem, and it actually is a similar problem both for the union and for owners. I think they play too much time kissing up to the biggest people. Like, if you want to fix this sport, this is not about players versus owners. This is about owners amongst themselves getting together to do better. This is 30 teams and they're 30 parts of the same business. Yeah, they compete for market share and wins, but it's like 30 McDonald's franchises. You're not trying to put each other out of business. You should be trying to grow each other. And what we have is a top tier, the spenders, they just want to dominate. They just want to blow everybody away. They don't want to share more. They don't want to make it so that it's a lot more balanced, kind of like the NFL, right? People talk about salary caps. Salary caps are garbage. They mean nothing. The reason the NFL can be what it is because the Packers can spend what the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys can spend because the revenue is shared to that level, where a non-market, Green Bay is a non-market. It's not a TV market. It's basically a village. And I'm being a smartass, right? I'm being a smartass from the pro sports perspective, right? It is the smallest pro sports market in the United States, but they can spend what the Giants and the Cowboys do because the Giants and the Cowboys, a long time ago, before anybody thought of this stuff, decided, went along with the league and said, yep, you know what we need to do? We all need to be equal. We all need to be as equal as we can. And yeah, we'll have some advantages being in the bigger markets, but we'll be basically equal. And the top tier owners in baseball have no interest in that. And, not only do we need to make sure that they share more, but they should be making the guys that are 22, 23, 24, 25 and below in payroll should be getting on their asses to raise that payroll, because the sport is better when everyone's better. You grow your future when generations of fans in Colorado and Pittsburgh have hope. We've got, this is the problem, is these two groups of people won't work together. The big boys just want to kick everybody's asses and outspend everybody. The little guys don't want to do anything but shove league money into their pockets. And they should all have the common sense to work together to grow the business, as opposed to trying to just pocket some cash or dominate with the checkbook.
No, totally right. And it's surprising how much local revenue that Major League Baseball teams do share compared to the NFL. The NFL's got a huge advantage over, certainly baseball, because the national TV money, various platforms, it's massive.
And there's no local TV, right? Everything is national, right?
And so that gives all 32 teams basically an equal chance, because they share that national TV broadcasting, all streaming, everything. They share it in equal slices. And so you have everything you need right there, even before ticket revenue, local revenue, marketing deals, such like that. There's no excuse whatsoever for an NFL team to be bad for a long time, for example, because they may not have as much local revenue as the Dallas Cowboys or whatever.
Right.
But Crimea River, they have all the resources they need to be as good as they want to be if they're smart enough to do it and if they want to do it. And Major League Baseball, it's not that way. The system is kind of backwards in that, again, because you talked about it, I talked about it. They keep giving handouts. They keep cutting checks to lower end franchise in terms of market size. And those owners are not motivated to change anything. The Cleveland Guardians are really smart. They get a handout every year, but they have a great organization set up. They draft well, they develop well. They're just really savvy. So they outperform their weight class. They outpunch their weight class. But there's too many. And I think the guy in Kansas City, the new owner there, I think he's
doing a nice job.
He's doing a nice job.
Yeah.
But there's just so many more teams that need to just pick it up, and they don't. So we had a thing say, well, the problem with Bill DeWitt, we had one of our watches.
We'll dig into that in a second.
He's content with mediocrity. He doesn't want to do anything except count the people walking in. Okay. All right. I guess then it doesn't mean anything that since he's been the owner of the Cardinals, they're fourth in Major League Baseball in wins regular season.
That's mediocre, Bernie.
The top three in postseason in terms of victories. He's content to do nothing, which is why, of course, he's in John Mozeliak at the door, hiring Chaim Bloom, who hired Rob Cerfolio, and they're bringing in more scouts, instructors, coaches, upgrading all the facilities, getting the Cardinals up to speed on technology, which is not a minor undertaking. It's a major undertaking. Now, if people want to say Bill DeWitt waited too long, you're talking to the wrong guy, because I've been saying that for years. Why are they letting the player development thing collapse?
Right.
Because that's his thing. So there's room for criticism. But once again, way too many one-issue voters out there. All it is with them, it consumes them. Payroll. And they ignore everything else about what makes a successful baseball team. And they don't even know their own team's history. Player development and Bill DeWitt, Jeff Luhnow. Take a look at it from 2000 through 2015 and get back to me. Player development. So, But no. People want him to be stupid with his money. People still want, we'll spend some money. Why would you want the current regime to spend money when you got a new guy taking over after the end of the season? But you can't even reason with people who are the payroll fetishists. You just can't. There's just no way. That's all they care about.
We're going to dig into that more in a second, Bern. Tell us about Sela first.
I went for it now.
Oh, there's more, though. We got more meat on that bone. We're going to get into that more in a second.
I want to let you. Then you need to take that. All right.
We'll do that after we hear about Sela.
Sela Heating and Cooling, and I do need some AC right now. In fact, let me click on my mini split right here. There, I did. I just clicked it on.
Good.
The Sela Heating and Cooling, American Standard product there. The mini split cools off my office. Sela Heating and Cooling has been doing this since 1927, continuously owned by the Sela family. They're an independent American Standard heating and cooling dealer that has been taking care of St. Louis families since 1927, generations of them. And you know what? I say this all the time. You got to be great at what they do to number one, not only still be open after starting your business in 1927, but nearly 100 years later, getting bigger, better, more people, your reputation grows, more people turn to you. It means you're really great at what you do, because otherwise you wouldn't have a chance. It's a competitive industry in St. Louis. So Dan Sela is a wonderful, wonderful leader of Sela Heating and Cooling, the family business. They'll take great care of you. We've been with them for 16 years, and we've learned their honesty is beyond reproach. They've even given us cheaper solutions when we were ready to buy an expensive piece of equipment. They said, no, you don't need that yet. Here, let us show you what we can do. So anyway, that's just some testimonials, but go to SelaHeatingandCooling.com, find out about the Priority Clubs. It's a maintenance program that really works very, very well. A lot of benefits there. Financing options available, subject to credit approval. Go to SelaHeatingandCooling.com for the phone number. That's SelaHeatingandCooling.com.
All right, Bernie Miklasz, Kevin Wheeler with you here on the Gashouse Gang. We got some Blues talk coming up in a few minutes. I wanted to finish up on that, Bern, because I think there are a couple things there that we can add to the conversation. I sometimes wonder if people understand what mediocrity actually is.
No, they don't have a clue.
I understand. See, this is the thing. There is failing to meet expectations, which is a valid, fair, accurate criticism, right? This team sets expectations at a high level, and they have not met those. That is absolutely 100% true, fair. All of us have said that, and that's not the same thing as being mediocre. Even if you say in the last 5 or 6 years, in the last 6 full seasons, you've got 3 90-win seasons. That's not great. That's not world beater, but it ain't mediocre. Mediocre's 500. Do you know how many 500 seasons the Cardinals have had in the last 25 years? Like 2. Like that. So like it's just perspective. And this is what I argue with people about on Twitter. It's fine to have your valid complaints. Don't exaggerate. Don't exaggerate the problem. This team sucks. They're just mediocre. Like, guys, it can be disappointing and underachieving. Underachieving to me is the number one word. Underachieving is what's happening. And that's why these changes are happening. So it's just a matter of just don't get so lost in your own frustration and anger that you can't see straight.
A faction of the fan base, and I don't know how to break it down, but it's a percentage of fans. I'm not saying it's all fans. Cardinals have a lot of smart fans who get this.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of reasons to take issue with, the direction of the team under Bill DeWitt and John Mozeliak the last several years. Even after that 100 win season in 2015. They went 3 years in a row not making the playoffs, and they hit another situation here the last couple years. No, and they let everything. They let their model get outdated. They didn't take care of their business in terms of maintaining the high standards for player development. So instead of having young pitchers and young hitters and guys who are like really good supplementary talents coming through your own system to help the Pujols and to help the Molinas and to help the Wainwrights and on and on and on, the Cardinals all of a sudden were not having that homegrown talent just funneled to the major leagues. And once they did, so they let things slip, and they should have never let it happen. And they they talked themselves into believing that the model was fine. Hey, we're the Cardinals. Look at how much we've won. Most teams, a lot of teams, whatever, not only caught the Cardinals, but passed them by in areas where the Cardinals were once the industry leader, like analytics, metrics, hiring Jeff Luhnow, bringing in this brilliant team of analysts who could identify talent better than the traditional way. And they just let all of that kind of erode, and that's on their fault. That's their fault. So if anybody, see, this stuff doesn't play on social media because there's not enough outrage.
Right.
Well, they really need, they let their technology slip. They let their staff of analysts slip. See, you don't get the fake tough guy cowboy points because, we
don't get rage engagement on that.
No rage engagement on that. So you can go home and, you can look at that. Oh, wow. Look, I got 20 likes. Wow. I'm a star. Anyway, that stuff's not rage worthy, but they happen to be the reasons why the Cardinals went into decline.
Yeah.
Bill DeWitt belatedly, but he is doing it. He's bringing in a new regime. They're getting smarter and smarter and smarter, and they are going to revive their player development system, which needs to be done. It wasn't an option. It was a necessity. So I have no problem with Cardinals fans who are ripping ownership, management, whatever. Only thing I wish is that the criticism was more on target.
There's plenty to criticize.
Don't be part of the angry performance artist rage mob on social media because they don't hit the target. It's all with them. It's all about payroll.
Yeah.
And they ignore all the other things that actually made the Cardinals great. The Cardinals very rarely in Bill DeWitt's ownership have had a top 10 payroll. They've usually been around. They've gotten in there a few times.
Yeah,
but
11, 12, 13.
They're usually around 9th, 10th, 11th, something like that. When they won most of all, they were in that area. But they've also had great teams with the number 12, the number 14 payroll.
Yeah.
People don't get it. They don't want to hear it.
No.
It's not good. It's not good for your performance artwork on social media that's going to get you attention with all the other rage merchants.
All right, so I have 30 seconds before we have to take a quick break and switch topics to the Blues. But I wanted to address one part of this. And Aaron, we love you, buddy. Everybody that comments, whether you fight with us or not, that's cool, man. It's just guys talking sports. If we were all sitting in a sports bar somewhere, which we should do someday, we'd just be buddies arguing. That's all it is. But this idea that it's championship or bust, wins or the season, win a World Series or the season of the failure, do you hold yourself to that standard? And if you do, why don't you own the team? If only championship level performance is good enough, why don't you hold yourself to that? Why don't any of us hold ourselves to that? I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just saying, man, like that is not a reasonable take, like championship or bust.
Yeah.
One team wins, 29 go home unhappy every year. That's not how it works. I'm seriously saying this as buddies, because if you were one of my buddies sitting around, I'd be telling you the same thing. And hopefully one day we'll do this. We'll get out and do this at a sports bar, and we can have some fun in real life doing a show, the Gashouse Gang, and have everybody out there with us. All right. Speaking of that,
if you're a top 5 major league franchise in postseason and regular season success for 30 years, right? You're a failure because you didn't win 30 World Series. You're a failure.
I guess it's championship or nothing.
Boy, that's a really smart, logical way to look at things, right? I should think about that. So Bill DeWitt, 29 years, all the times they made the playoffs, all the postseason games they won, the pennants, the World Series, playoff victories stacked of one on top of the other, model franchise for a long, long time until they let it slip. But because, he's actually owned the team 29 season, it'll be number 30 this coming season. So because they didn't go 29 for 29, right? In winning the World Series. He's a failure. They're a failure. Okay.
It's a bit, maybe Aaron's exaggerating to make a point, but I love you, guy.
Sparky.
And then the last thing, you know what? Let's just do this. We're going to have to,
go ahead. Go for it.
We're just going to change it up because we have to, because we actually do have a clock, which I have a hard time following. It is the Gashouse
you got
gang.
me on a wound up day.
Well,
Wheeler,
dude, we're the same. Like the two of us are the same, and you know, putting us together is both fun and clock management trouble. All right, it's Bernie Miklasz and Kevin Wheeler with you on the Gashouse gang. Bernie, tell us one more time about Seliga, and then we'll talk.
Be happy to do it. More about this priority club. You know, Seliga Heating and Cooling. They're always doing things to make their business even better and better for you. And of course, you know, they have that American Standard heating and air conditioning equipment that they're an independent dealer. And I could talk more and more and more and more about, you know, how great they are to deal with, which they are. And we know from 16 years. But the one thing I really want to encourage you to do is to become a member of the Priority Club, because it's maintenance for all seasons. They come to your house a couple times a year. They make sure before the winter, your heat's going well, before the hot air comes in, the St. Louis summer, your air conditioning, your systems are working great. And that way there's benefits, including, you know, you're ready for the coldest weather or the warmest weather. You know that everything is safe and up to speed, and that there will be no surprises, which means you get peace of mind because you know everything is safe and secure and working the way it should. That also saves you money, because if you have maintenance on a regular basis, it extends the lifetime of your equipment. And so you don't have to buy expensive equipment more than you should, you know, because you can keep your systems running for a long time just simply by getting in a maintenance program that gets them service a couple times a year. So go to SeligaHeatingandCooling.com. Financing options available, subject to credit approval. Go to SeligaHeatingandCooling.com.
All right, so we don't have time to do the Blues justice in this, so we can do this either you and Matt can talk tomorrow, or you and we can revisit this next week, because I don't think things are changing much there between now and next week. It's not been good, but I don't want to do 2 or 3 minutes on that and not do it very much depth. But we can finish up on this Cardinals conversation, and KT is watching us on the stream and commenting, and this is an interesting point, and I think we agree with this. So when we were talking about the achievements of this front office and ownership, this is a good way to put it. That does not mean you're excused for what's happening now. No. And that's why what's happening now is happening, right? That's why you're phasing out the current front office and player development system and phasing in a new one. And it's important to understand that's why it's not a free ride forever. But you do get some, like in all sports, you get benefit of the doubt when you've been there, done that for a long period of time. But we are past that. And your point, Bernie, perfectly well said. It's probably a little late. And that's okay to say that too. But it doesn't change that this now has to happen. We see that it's happening now. And another part of this is kind of what we get to here with KT, which is, you know, he says there's a lame duck GM. What a way to run a baseball team. Like, Mo's not the GM, but I get what you mean. Mo's in charge. But I think, again, we've said this before, and you'll get the final word on this, Bern, but you've got two things here. Do you want the new guy to have to do the dirty work? Do you want to put that on Bloom, which, by the way, happened to him in Boston? And I got to tell you, I bet he doesn't want to do that again, because in Boston, he got stuck with the knife. He had to be the guy that did the bloodletting there, and it did not go well for him. On top of that, you have two jobs happening now, rebuilding the system, running the major league team. You don't need the new guy doing both yet. You got to get one fixed, and then he can take over. That's why that's happening, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about this, and I've documented all 30 franchises. But again, people don't want to hear it. The extremists don't want to hear it. Cardinals have to be great every year, or they're garbage, or whatever point it is they actually try to make with a straight face. Every major league franchise, including the ones we now venerate as like being the motto, oh, they're so incredible. Every major league franchise during Bill DeWitt's time as a Cardinals owner has gone through cycles where you're like, wow, they were really bad for a long time. I mean, the Braves had 4 consecutive losing seasons.
Yeah.
The Phillies went 10 seasons without making the playoffs. But
by the way,
the
on the Phillies, on the Phillies, Bernie, you get this too. And everybody's like, that's a team built to win it all. They haven't won jack squat the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, and before that, 10 straight years without being in the playoffs. And but you can't appeal to the logic or perspective of the extremists because they don't have any. Like when the Cardinals go into a slide, it's the only team in the majors that this has ever happened to.
Yeah.
They need to be more like they need to be more like this. They need to be more like that. What they need to be, and I've said this a million times, is they need to be smarter than the Milwaukee Brewers, who have kicked the Cardinals behind since 2017, despite spending $470 million less on payroll. Tell that to the extremists. They'll look at you like, what? Because wait a minute, it's about payroll. So the Cardinals, they're trying to win. The Brewers aren't. No, that's, again, you got it all wrong. You got to be smart. That's where it starts. And you got to develop your own players at a good rate. It's not just the payroll.
All right.
I don't know what else to say.
Good last word. We'll wrap on that. You and Matt Pauley will have the Gashouse gang tomorrow. The four of us will be back on Monday. God willing, there'll be some more movement in baseball that might get Nolan Arenado to a destination that he prefers, and get the Cardinals what they're looking for. In the meantime, Bern, we'll talk to you on the Dave Glover Show tomorrow. And have yourself a fine day, sir.
All right. Sorry for raging.
Oh, no, it's what we love, man.
Thank you.
You and I are the raging brothers.
It's therapy. It's therapy.
All right. That's the Gashouse gang on KMOX and all of the KMOX social media channels.